All right. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome, everyone. I am Eric Hall, your success concierge, and I want to welcome everyone to this stream this evening. Today is November 8th, 2023, and first stream of the month of November. So I'm very excited to be here. Let's talk about what we got going on here. So now, as I've stated before, this is November, so it's getting a little bit cooler. So this time of year is one of my favorite times of year because you can go very deep into your fragrance lineup. It's not too hot, not too cold, so you can do and utilize a lot of things. So today's scent of the evening, this is probably one of the first fragrances I bought. It's a classic. It's by YSL L'Homme Intense. Man, this stuff is amazing. Sweet amber, good for this time of year, good for a cool weather evening. I mean, it's just an amazing fragrance to have on. I really enjoy that. So As you know, I like to wear a lot of fragrances. I like to wear frames, shoes. I like to look good, feel good, smell good. That's my thing. I am Eric Hall, your success concierge. I'm always about putting you in position to achieve your desired outcomes. So today we got a very interesting topic. We're talking about rehabbing your image or reinventing yourself. And why would you need to do something like that? Maybe you were in a situation or you've gone through some challenges and you want to change some things, like maybe that's not the life you lived anymore, you saw it wasn't getting you the outcomes you needed, or just you were just in a bad place and you want to reemerge in a different place. So that's why you want to do some things to rehab or reinvent yourself, rehab your image. So we've talked ad nauseum about the four areas: the ABCD, the appearance, behavior, communication, and the digital footprint. Now, a lot of times people just focus on the appearance. And the thing is, you can't just dress something up and try to cover up an issue. It's like being funky and trying to put fragrance on top of that. That's not going to work long term. People are going to see that that's not what's really what is meant to be, right? What's really going on. And you have to have that congruence. So, yeah, change your image, change your appearance. That will attract and get you in certain places, but the other components that's going to keep you there, that's going to keep that congruency. So when you're looking to rehab, yes, your appearance may need to change that, but also too, you definitely want to be a change in your behavior, how you operate, how you do things, and your communication as well. And then digital footprint, depending on your age, you may not have some of that as much as previous individuals, but you definitely want to look at that as well too. How do we change that digital footprint to your benefit? All right. So that's what we have going on today. I want to welcome everyone tuning in. And y'all see this person on the screen. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about who this individual is, Robert Downey Jr. I am Iron Man. And it's this is someone who's been around quite some time. Some people may know him only more recently, but we're gonna talk about him, his image prior to, and then now today. Give me 1 second. Let me get uh, my screen share ready, and we can do that. Let me present. All right. All right. So it's going down. Case study on this man right here, Robert Downey Jr. Most of y'all see him right here. Y'all know him from this image, which is him as Tony Stark. But let's talk about Robert Downey Jr. himself, how it started. So, again, he's been acting a long time. You see, he was born in April of 1965, and he began acting at the tender age of 5 years old. So, y'all see him right there. I like that overcoat, stylish, right? So, you may or may not know he studied classical ballet, spent some time living in England, and he studied performing arts. And the reason he did that is like he comes from a family of that. So, this is him in the 80s. And it was funny because this movie, Weird Science, I was watching it the other day. If you were a young man and you was into tech and saw those type of things, you may have remember that. So this is him as a teen in the 80s, right? Weird Science, interesting movie there. He did some off-Broadway theatrical work. You may not know, and they wanted to have this young up-and-coming group on Saturday Night Live, and they bombed terribly. So one thing I want to say is like, okay, it's okay to fail. It's okay to not be successful at all things. But that was just part of his career. And so, yeah, he was going to school. So he dropped out in 1982 because he wanted to pursue acting full time in the 90s. So, he played Charlie Chaplin, as you see right here. And some of his other roles was Air America, which he was in with Mel Gibson. Soap Dish, U.S. Marshals, that was him. Tommy Lee Jones. Y'all may not remember Agent Royce. Well, that was Robert Downey Jr. So he's someone who's had a lot of talent. He is kind of similar to Tony Stark. He was like a child prodigy. He was very talented in a number of different areas. All right. Singing, like I showed on the previous slide, he did the soundtrack for the Charlie Chaplin movie. He sang White Christmas and River on the Ally McBeal TV show. Some of y'all may not remember that. Also did some singing on that Kiss Kiss Bang Bang movie as well too. That was probably one of his first movies where he was the lead role. But this is one of his album covers right here. So Robert Downey Jr., like, people just see the acting, but he could sing. He's just very talented, very dynamic individual. All right. So this is some other things, right? So his dad, that's his dad, Robert Downey Sr., who was also an actor and a filmmaker, but he was a drug addict. And one of those things that he did was Robert started doing drugs at 6 years old. So 6 years old, he's doing this, and it's amazing. Like sometimes people getting to understand of why and how things get started. Well, his father was a drug addict as well, and he said, "Well, that's how I spent time with my dad. That's how I bonded with my dad when they were, doing drugs together." So he started doing marijuana, excuse me, at 6, and then moved on to other things. And it's just interesting how some people they bond around sports, they bond around building things, bond around other things, but this is how his father and he bonded. So that's the importance of having like relationships, boundaries, those type of things, and just understanding how certain things started so you can kind of mitigate that. All right. And so the drug use and those types of things that affected his relationships. You see him, that's yeah, Miss Carrie Bradshaw, Sarah Jessica Parker, and she and Robert, they were in a relationship for about 7 years in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, from 84 to 91. And one of the reasons why they stopped dealing with each other is because of his drug issues. All right. And so when you're doing those types of things, you make bad decisions. So he met this girl and he married her after 42 days of courtship. They had a son in 93 after the 92 marriage. And then things started to fall apart in 2000 when they finalized the divorce in 2004. It was because of some of the same reasons. Robert had issues with addiction, drugs, and just all those types of problems. But at the same time, this guy was immensely talented. He was doing movies, doing roles, doing those types of things. All right. And even his children were affected. So this was this son with the Sarah Falconer. This is son Indio, and they look almost exactly alike. But he was arrested for drugs as well, and some of his issues and challenges with the law. And one of the things Robert Jr. said was, he inherited this drug gene addiction, right? So sometimes you have to do some things to break patterns so they no longer affect you and your family in those areas. And so one of the things that Robert said was, RDJ said was, he was glad the sheriff's department got hold of his son because that was kind of like an intervention that helped him change, helped him recover. All right. And Robert himself, man, he hit rock bottom. All right. And from like 96 to around early 2000, he was having a lot of issues in and out of jail. So he had drug addictions. He was arrested multiple times, either for possession or, just being trespassed. And one time it got so bad, went into his neighbor's house and went to sleep in one of their bedrooms. So he got trespassed for that, right? He would have failed drug tests. So he went to jail a couple of times. He was on parole, and he would come out either miss drug tests or fail drug tests. It just was a terrible situation for him. And so he was on the TV show Ally McBeal, a TV show in the 90s, and he was responsible for helping that show revitalize and grow. But they ended up firing him from that because his drug addiction, right? And then other studios didn't want to work with him because they didn't know if he was going to be able to complete films because he was in and out of rehab, in and out of prison, jail for those types of things. So that's Robert Downey Jr.'s mugshot. Now, some of you in the chat, I can't see because I'm presenting. You may not have known that about Robert Downey Jr. You may not have known like this was his past. This is some of the things that happened to him. You may just know him as a new version, right? So I just wanted to kind of share that with you. And one thing that we always do over here is we deal in fact, we deal in not rumors. So this is public information. So that's one thing you can definitely check out. But the man came back strong. 2008, he kick-started Marvel Studios, the MCU, all right? So Jon Favreau, he directed the first Iron Man, and he specifically wanted Robert Downey Jr. And the reason being is like some of you may know the comics, you may or may not, but Tony Stark, genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist, that's the role Robert Downey Jr. played. Well, Tony Stark, even then, he had issues with alcohol, different types of addictions, different types of abuse in his genius and talented life, same as Robert. And so that's why he was really, really able to bring the character to life. And that's why Jon Favreau wanted him on that. But this in 2008, kick-started the MCU. Incredible Hulk came out before, it didn't really do as well, but Iron Man 2008, that came out, did over 500 million, and then Iron Man 2 over 600 million, and they've had some of the highest grossing films on there. And at one point he was the highest paid actor. I think one year he made like 75 million. Dude was getting paid, and also too he was helping his other co-stars get paid. Then some of the other things, like, man, the Sherlock Holmes franchise. If you haven't seen that, like, I love him in that. This is a picture of him from that. Dr. Doolittle, a recent video that just came out, Oppenheimer, and then the interesting Tropic Thunder. So that's an interesting video, a movie as well too. All right. So then look at his current family life. So he's married to Sarah here. He met his wife on the set of Gothica, and initially she didn't really, this is around 2004. She really didn't want to deal with him because she's like, okay, he's an actor, he's in the movie, he may be going after this set. But they ended up getting together. They still together to this day. They have children, and then the main thing right here, man, he's been clean since 2003. All right. Amazing friendship with Mel Gibson. You may or may not know that, but they met on the set of Air America, and when Downey was trying to get roles, he couldn't get Bond because they were like, oh, he's such a risk to not do movies. They didn't want to pay him all the money up front, all these other things. So people always like, why does Robert always ride with Mel Gibson or ride for Mel Gibson? Because Mel looked out for him when he was at rock bottom. And then in 2015, Mel Gibson got a DUI and Downey supported him. So this is like another testament to great relationships, not being a lone wolf, and just being supportive of yourself as well as others too. All right. And then, he's been clean for that time. And one of his major statements, and he actually said this on during an interview, is it's not really about the difficulty. It's not really that difficult to overcome these seemingly gassing problems. What's hard is to decide to do it. So the decision, always the decision that you may know what to do, but it's about being able to go through and take that action. All right. And as a result, in 2015, he received a pardon from Governor Jerry Brown of California for all his drug convictions. So that's just him turning himself around. And then the brand, man, he's like changed from that young type person who was all over the place with that. Now he's stylish. He's a family man, very talented. And then even on the right, glasses. Dida made these glasses just specific based on him. So they were doing things based on his character. So these are the Dita Flight 6s. You saw him with this in the Avengers series. You saw Tom Holland wearing these in the Spider-Man series, so very stylish. And they made this specifically for him. All right. And then he just stylish. You just look at him over the course of time. What I love about Robert, not just his clothes style, but also too, like his frame game. So like him, Johnny Depp, Elton John, I love their frame game, not just the frames, but how they play with the lenses, because that's something that I do as well too. And you see he's got those amethyst colored glasses. Those were actually the inspiration, not necessarily the tortoiseshell frame, but I took that and made some glasses myself. And you may have seen like my brownish, not quite as orange as his, but like those are more burnt orange. But I just like playing not just with the frames, but the tint, because that's just a little something extra that adds to the style. All right. So that is my image consultant take on Robert Downey Jr. and how he made a change and transition his life and his image and the importance of that. All right. So now he's associated with being a family man, an amazingly talented actor. He even does some activist things, like he's somewhat environmentalist, but he's not one of those. He's like, man, I've done a lot of damage to just my travel, my carbon footprint. He wants to work on those areas as well. So those are just some things that Robert has done. So that's my intro on Robert Downey Jr. And so I want to welcome everyone. Thank y'all for tuning in to this stream right here. As you know, I'm a personal, corporate, and brand image consultant, and I like doing these types of case studies because I'm not just talking, gossiping. I'm not just reacting. I'm talking about nuts and bolts things that I see. I notice that people are out here doing, whether that's for the good or that's for the not so good. And so it's important to not just look at these types of things just to see the outcome, but also the lessons learned, the observations, the way we can improve, the way we can get better. And so, as a personal and corporate brand and image consultant, I work in a couple of areas: your personal image, your professional. So that's going to be things like your communication, how you navigate, how you do resumes, how you do those things that help you show up as a professional, how you do presentations, different sales skills, all these things. That's what I work with individuals and businesses on. And then on the business side, like your brand and your communication, your training of employees handbook, those types of things, because we always talk about making sure those things are congruent. And then, of course, individuals, like working on your appearance, your behavior, communication, digital footprint, so you can look good and put yourself in position to achieve your desired outcomes. So this is my favorite part, Joe. In addition to talking about, case studies, people I want to learn from, or people I learn from, or people and things that I see, but also too, this is where we answer your questions, right? Because I like to do this real time. I like to show people like how we can better whatever situation they are, how we can put them in position to do outcomes. So we're gonna put the link up so you can look at, if you want to call in, jump on it and get your question answered live real time. We definitely do that. Or you can just type them in the chat, and we can do that as well too. I get questions and information throughout this, whether it's on my IG, iamerichall on IG, or like emails or just different things people ask me throughout the week, throughout my time, and we just put them up here, and we gonna get them answered because that's what we do over here. So we can go ahead and get the first question up. I like to stay hydrated because that's what we do over here. All right. So first question is, how do I change my style personality? So like, how do you change your style personality? You don't intentionally change it, it just happens. And what I mean by that is, I see a lot of individuals, they may see something or see someone they admire, right? So you may be in school and it's this guy or this guy who's like just really popular, and what they do just work for them, and you say, I want that. And so you may, and I see it a lot when people want the quote unquote bad boy style personality. That's one that people love or try to emulate. And the thing is, you can't just change the appearance. You have to change the behavior, the communication, and the digital footprint. Same as we talked about rehab and image. So the question is what's in here and what's up here, has that changed? Now, what are some reasons that you may want to change or do a change? Your lifestyle may have changed. You may have gone from being a young person to being someone more mature, and things that were important to you as a younger person, they're not as important to you now. So you want to shift and change that perspective. All right. Your lifestyle changed. Maybe you went from being solo to being a person with a family, and you want to do different types of things. So as you age and you mature, certain aspects of your life may change. And you may say, okay, well, this is no longer important to me, just like we talked about Robert Downey Jr., like being, because we talk not just about appearance, but we have behavior communication. So he went from someone who like to do drugs and do those things to wanting to be a family man. So that's something that's changes that particular area. But changing from like preppy to say bad boy, I would like, why would you want to do that if that's not who you truly are? Because again, if that's not who you truly are, you're not going to have congruence. So if you want to change because you don't have congruence, that's one thing. But if you want to change because you want something that's outside of you, then that may be a bit of a challenge. And why do I say you need image consultants and professionals like myself? Because this is what we do. We work with individuals. I find out about your lifestyle. I find about what the things you do, the outcomes you want to have, the places you go, what your lifestyle is like. And then that's how we cater what you already doing, and we maximize that. So again, the question was kind of vague. Hopefully I did answer that. But again, it's like, what is the motivation for wanting to change your style, personality? And that's why we should have a consultation, as a great person used to say, book a session. That's what we want to discover as well too. So that's my take on someone who may want to change their style, personality. Let's identify is is other aspects in your life changing? Do you want different outcomes? And let's really nail that down, because it could be you thought you was one thing and you really wasn't. So that's kind of a vague question, but I did answer that. And so if you want a little bit deeper on that, then of course reach out to me. I am Eric Hall on IG. You see me up here on these streams. Come on, jump in here, and we'll get that done. All right. So let's go to the next question if we have one. Thank you everybody for tuning in. It's that time of year. It's like we coming up on the last 60 days of 2023, and I know a lot of people make a lot of big plans, big goals, and also too you preparing for 2024 as well too. So it's all about finishing strong and enjoying the things that you want to do. All right, so let's see if we have any more questions on here. Is image important in dating and romantic relationships? Absolutely. So let's look at some. So we've been seeing. It's important in a lot of different areas. Okay. So if you may have checked out my stream last week, I talked about the Cheesecake Factory incident. I talked about those other things, right? Some of those dating faux pas or things out there, right? So remember, image is not just appearance, which is important because appearance, that's going to help you attract the mate that you're trying to attract or be more attractive to that individual. So your appearance is definitely important, but also your behavior, your communication, of course, your digital footprint. We know there are some things you could do and put out there that makes you less attractive in the dating market. But specifically, let's talk about the behavior and the communication. All right. Now, I touched on this with that video, or that segment, but I'll touch on it a little bit further. If you're someone who just wants to have a good time, and people can choose to do whatever they choose to do, then your behavior as you go out and meet individuals, it has to line up with that. Okay. And then also too, if you're someone who says, hey, I want to get married, have a family, do those types of things, your behavior has to be in line with that. So staying out till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, that's not necessarily conducive to a healthy relationship. And that's one of the things I talked about when we were talking about the gentleman who did the Cheesecake Factory, right? And even people who say, okay, well, I got to have this for this type of date, that for that type of date. Because again, what is it that your base is going to be doing, right? So if you're a guy or someone who likes to save and likes to be conservative, going out and doing fancy things just because, that's not really who you are. So when you're dating, you want to be who you are and show up who you are. And that's why it's important as well, too. So one of the projects that I have in the works, someone's referred me to some matchmakers. And the reason they want me to kind of talk with these matchmakers is because they have clients coming to them, and these clients are looking for, relationships, mates, whatever. And so part of that is, yeah, they're going to need the style, but they're going to need the behavior and communication as well, too. So when they're out here talking, they're out here interviewing, they're out here vetting, they're out here meeting people, what's in here shows up out there, so you can have, genuine connections. So is image important? Yes. And so additionally, that means I touch very little on that, but also too, looking the part as well too. You want to put your best foot forward in any situation, whether that's professional or personal, but you want to put your best foot forward. So that means, hey, if you want someone decent, you got to look decent. So that means you may have to make sure that your fitness is on point. And again, hygiene, which I've done videos about that as well too. Make sure your hygiene is on point. Making sure your outfits and clothes are appropriate for what you say you're looking for, what you want to do. And also too, you got to make sure they fit properly as well too, because again, you're a reflection of what you are, right? So if you're someone who is haphazard in this area, what chances are you may be haphazard in those other areas. If you're carefree here, you may be carefree there, because your message, your image is communicating to those individuals out there. So yes, your image is important for dating and romantic relationships. Always, always, always. Image is very important for all these situations. So a couple of things that I can do as well too is, if you have fragrance questions, I can, good date night fragrance, good things like that, we can definitely discuss that. So yeah, get the likes up. And also too, man, like if you like what we're doing over here, I definitely want to make sure I continue to put in work so I can earn your subscription, because I want to keep catering this to make sure that you're getting what you need out there. So definitely subscribe to the channel, hit the like button. Both of those things are free. And also too, chime in because I want to make sure that we're catering things to make sure it's getting you what you need. That's why we're here asking questions, going live, doing these type of things. Office hours open. So that's what your success concierge is doing out here. Not only that, we working on projects to better the production here, doing some other things to better my skill set, better the way things I am able to serve you because I'm constantly doing things to better myself so I can continue to add value. That's what we do over here. We constantly growing, we constantly improving, and we're showing our work. All right. So let's see if we have any more questions out there. We're just a little bit half past the hour. Um, all right. Question is: you mentioned digital footprint previously. How did I become involved in this process successfully? All right. So digital footprint is like medicine. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So in this day and age, and it's fascinating because we learn this from celebrities and we learn this from athletes, people famous, right? Is like double check before you hit send. Do you really want to say that? Do you really want that message to be out there? So the first step is thinking about what you're putting out there and being intentional, being intentional about that. And then the second thing is if you have things out there, now not for everything, but if you have things out there, you can flood it with the good, the things that you do better. You flood it with that and use that as your digital footprint. And also, too, you own your past. One thing that we do professionally and what I do as well, too, is we talk about risk and risk mitigation and how do we solve challenges as well, too. So first is prevention. The second thing is, make sure you put more good than not good out there. And those are things that you're going to help with. And also, too, um, on a professional level is how do we fine tune your resume? How do we fine tune your business plan? How do we fine tune your marketing materials? Because this is how you're showing up to customers as well, potential clients as well, too. So those are things that just from a high level I would recommend and I would help with. But if it's something individual, yeah, then we may need to have a one-on-one session to discover that. But digital footprint is fairly new because again, um, before you could say and do things, and you could say, "I never said that. I don't remember saying that." But now people are gonna show you the pictures and they're gonna play the tape. So that's happened a lot recently for people. They past is coming up showing different things. Perfect example of where it happened. We talked about Tupac, right? So the gentleman who allegedly was part of, and I say allegedly, was part of the murder of Tupac. This happened in '96, almost 27 years ago. This person was putting things out interview wise, putting things out. And, he already was someone who was involved in crime before that, right? But he was someone who started talking about this, talking about that, and revealing a lot of things. Well, it came back to bite him in the tuchus. All right. So you want to be mindful of that because even though it may be incongruent with your lifestyle, how you live, because, he was that type of lifestyle, but it came back to haunt him. The case has not been finally adjudicated, but again, it has kind of reopened and he has been arrested as a result of some of the things he put out in the atmosphere that came back to get him. All right. So yeah, you definitely want to be mindful of that. And again, thank you all the beautiful people tuned in from all over the world. I know I have people across the seas, the north, the south, the east, and the west, uh, all intergalactic over here. All right, so let's see if we have any more questions coming in tonight. All right, so why is communication and public speaking so much? Simple outcomes. So let's talk about communication, public speaking. These are kind of similar, but a little bit different, right? Communication is just sharing of information, all right, sharing of words. And there's two types of communication. You either want to inform someone or you want to compel someone. All right. So when you're informing someone, that's something like what we're doing here, or you're watching a program where someone's talking, you say, okay, this is the waitress or waitress, this is the menu, this is that. I'm just here to tell you to do something or tell you some information. Then the other is compel, right? You're trying to compel someone to do something, right? Whether that's someone to come see your movie, hire me, go on a date with me, buy this product, buy this service, um, go over here and vote for me. Like all these things, your communication affects outcomes in those areas. So when you typically see things, the people who are most successful in all aspects of their life, they're the ones who communicate effectively. The best actors, they communicate, through their roles. Because we've all seen movies we like, okay, that's a Tubi movie. Hopefully they don't come get me, but that's a little bootleg movie, and the acting is not that good. Then we've seen some great things. Well, we've seen great actors. I can say Will Smith and Ali was amazing. Denzel Malcolm X was amazing. Jamie Foxx Ray, amazing. We talked about Robert Downey Jr. earlier. So they make you not see them; they make you see the character. That's a form of communication. Then we have individuals who sell products, individuals who sing, who maybe preachers or people like that, people who get you to get and take action. So that's why communication in and of itself is important. All right. And then public speaking, well, public speaking just allows you to magnify that. Like if you're just communicating one on one, then you can only influence or share information with one person. Well, when you talk about doing it publicly, then your voice gets amplified and magnified so you can reach more people, whether it's okay, it's a fire in the building. So now I'm on the PA system. I can tell all the people to get out the building, right? Or there's something going on that I want them to take action for. Okay, I want them to do that, right? So that's why public speaking is so important. A lot of people fear that. I actually enjoy it, and I've worked with individuals to help them develop their confidence in those areas. So those are two areas why public speaking is so important, as well as communication. I talked about why communication is so important, whether you want to inform someone or compel someone to take action. And then the public speaking just allows you to amplify, magnify, and touch more people. So that's why both of those are important. And those are great skills to have because, again, if you're someone who's adept at that, then you can be the one to drive their success. You can be the one to start taking action, taking your destiny in your own hand because you don't need someone else to speak for you. You can speak for yourself. You don't need someone else to present, to ask, do this. You can go and start taking action in those areas. So that's why public speaking and communication in itself is important because that puts you in position to be better, have better outcomes. The people who communicate the most effectively, they have the better outcomes, whether that's sport, well, not necessarily sports, music, movies, politics, all those types of things. You see like the best preachers and whatnot, they get people to listen and take action. So that's why you want to learn and master that skill. So yeah. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Get the likes up as well. Get the subscriptions up. Go ahead, hit that button, bang that bell. Cause we want you to be here. Hopefully you want to be here, and we're gonna keep doing amazing things for you. This is office hours. Like any type of professor, any type of educator, we take time so we can answer questions, share information, and give you that extra oomph that you may need outside of what you already getting. That's what we're here to do. Like I invest in myself, I invested in you, you invest in you, so you can put yourself in a position to win. All right, so thank you everyone for tuning in. Do we have any more questions coming in? Whether that be the chat and that. Okay, so okay, all right. This is a great question. So I did the case study on Robert Downey Jr. So someone asked if you were working with Robert Downey Jr. when he was going through this time frame, what would be your approach? All right, so if Robert Downey Jr., if I was talking with him, it would we would have to have a serious conversation, and the conversation would be is like because he was having drug addictions, right? And so when someone is having drug addictions, because we may have known people like that, their decision making is not good, their consistency is not good, their actions are erratic, right? And so even what he said is like he has to decide that he wants to do it and he wants to make change, right? So if I'm working with Robert Downey Jr., he's got to assure me, and I have to believe that he's ready to make a change and wants to make a change. Because if we're just going through what going through, we just spinning our wheels. So that would be the number one thing right there. And I would ask him, okay, I know you said you want to make a change. What is the outcomes? What is it that you want for yourself, right? And it's easy to say this in hindsight now, looking at after it's done, but he obviously wanted a stable family. He wanted to stay clean. He wanted to be able to practice his craft. So I would talk and put him in position to do that, making sure that not just the work that he and I are doing, but how we surrounding himself, how we are surrounding him with other individuals who are doing the right thing, who are doing and living the way he wants to live. Okay. And then I would just highlight how, he's able to be clean, he's able to be sober, and then his other good qualities, like he's a very talented actor, the type of roles that he's taking, even if he wanted to do community things as well too. So I would highlight all those things, and then from a digital footprint standpoint, I would be overwhelming the system. I would be overwhelming with, Iron Man stuff, Doctor Doolittle stuff, his singing, his environmental stuff, his religious and family. I would be overwhelmingly doing things and put those type of things on display. So that stuff about him being addicted to drugs, going to prison, that would be a blip, which it is, right? And then in this instance right here, I would petition the governor and be like, okay, this is someone who's turned a life around. He's an asset and value to society. Let's party him. And not just that, let's show him as a beacon of hope to other individuals who may be struggling. Because again, addiction is a challenge, and that's something that people fight and struggle with. But just show that, and then I would just make sure every day consistently Robert has good outlets to release energy, so he doesn't revert back and do those types of things. So that's what I've seen from him. And again, this happened in the late 90s, early 2000s. And so I wasn't seeing it real time from this perspective as an image consultant perspective. But those are some things that I would be doing specifically with him, and just working with him to refine his image, making sure, okay, your behavior is lined up, your communication is lined up, all these types of things. His appearance was always good, right? But even from an appearance standpoint, making sure he's coming to set like looking and feeling like he's ready to go to work, not like he's dragging and doing those things. So that would also instill confidence in the people that he's going to be, who's potentially hiring him. So that's some things that I would be doing with him. But first, he would have to make that decision, right? And here's the reason I say this, because from a business perspective, as someone who wants to work with individuals who want to achieve outcomes, it's a two-way street. I do a little, you do a little. I do a lot, you do a lot. We have to work together and partner, right? It's not just me doing everything and you doing nothing. And so if I work with someone and I feel like we're just spinning wheels and my message is not resonating with them, or they're just in a place where, yeah, they want to, but they're not ready to take ownership and accountability, that's the time when you quote unquote fire a client, because at that point, you're just taking their money. And that's not something that I choose to do. Other people, they can choose what they want to, but that's not something I choose to do. I choose to work with individuals who are diligent, serious about making change, taking action, improving. And as long as those things is met, even if it's just a little progress, as long as we moving in that direction, then I'm happy with that. I'm comfortable with that. So that's how I would have approached Robert Downey Jr. or work with him, again, because like Mel Gibson is a little bit different. That's his friend. I don't know him like that. I'm just talking about Eric the professional, not Eric the friend. Eric the friend, then, we have friends and loved ones. We treat them differently. We support them, this and that. We kick them, we pull them, we push them, right? But Eric the professional, that's not what my wheelhouse is in that situation. So I just want people to realize it's two different aspects of that. So Eric the professional, that's how I would have handled that. All right. So Patrick St. James, salute. I like to play on the words. One of my favorite characters as well too. Salute to you. Welcome as well too. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, if you have questions, comments, concerns, definitely put them in the chat. We also have the panel open in case individuals want to come up and ask their questions real time and live. But I always thank every individual for tuning in. Let's see if we have any more questions as well too. Salute everyone. All right. Oh boy, this this is a funny story. The funny one right here. All right. There's a trend in hip hop of ratchet behavior. Would you ever do a case study on that? Mm, it would have to be a really compelling case story, and I would have to have more information, right? So let's talk about this, right? So we've had a lot of different things going on, right? We've had a certain celebrity sell some lip gloss of some varying things. We've had a couple who one allegedly shot another one in the foot, and they was dating. All kind of stuff out there, right? And so, realistically, if I'm not working directly with them, it's a little bit difficult for me to do a case study at this stage because one, I don't know what their desired outcomes are. So, and let me just say this right. So let's just say someone is out here behaving poorly. I don't know if they're getting paid to do that. I don't know if that's who they are from a personality standpoint. I don't know if they just going through something in this moment. So it's hard to really say because I do again as an image I do see like okay, it's about outcomes. So maybe your outcome is I want to tell a story about something. The other outcome is I may want to influence people to behave poorly or in this manner like I do. So I would have to have a better understanding of what type of outcomes that they want to do and also, too, right now, we're in the moment. And what I mean by in the moment is that, like, I just see that the behavior of things that they're doing now. They may decide to do a 180. They may decide to do a change. They may decide to do a whole different other thing. And I can really tell a whole story on that situation. So, am I likely to do one? It's possible. Hey, if y'all want it, we might can accommodate that. But in just my perspective right now, it's not enough out there for me to really say like what they're doing well. Again, especially if I'm not working with them because I don't know what their end game is or what their end goal is. It's really really hard to say with certain celebrities or whatnot. But I will say this, right? It's some people doing some things that I would say probably doesn't put them or people who look and act like them in a good light, and they may just not care because there are some individuals who choose to live a reckless life and they just want to ride till the wheels fall off. And anybody riding with them, they're going down with the ship, and that's their prerogative. But I just don't know like what it is that they're trying to do. Another thing too is I try to keep things very positive over here. When I say positive, not like in a delusional state, but I'm not one to really engage in gossip and this and that. I want to focus on how we can get individuals to improve. And now, if one of those individuals want to hire me, I am available, and we want to talk about specific situation, we can do that. But just as far as a case study, I don't see anyone that I'm compelled to do one as of now. But who knows? It may change. Or if y'all write in and call me or and tell me, hey, talk about this, talk about that specifically, we can definitely do it because we accommodating over here. But I will say this, right? Um, you know, part of communication is behavior. If you're behaving poorly, and now we live in a digital age, that may stick with you for a while. So again, things change, transition change, and so are you prepared for that? So some of those individuals, history tells us they may or may not be prepared for that, and they may or may not care. So that is my perspective on that. But I do want people to do better. I want people to put themselves in position to win, and that's what we're about. So hopefully that answers that question. We got about just under 10 minutes. We'll stay a little bit longer if we got more people want to chime in, want questions. Um, but yes, we do. So any more questions before this? Oh, all right. How has image affected the NBA and its attendance? All right, this is an interesting thing, bro, and I love questions like this, right? So, as someone, I grew up playing basketball. I played at fairly decent level. I knew people who played at a higher level professionally, NBA, such and so forth. And I was an avid lover of the NBA game. That has shifted. I used to like NBA more than college. Now I like college more than NBA. And it's for a number of reasons. So I personally think the NBA has an image problem. And the image that they have is the players don't care. And Adam Silver has been doing some things like that to try to get them to do more. Like right now, they're having their in-season tournament cup, and it's just to try to get the players incentivized to do that. Now, because and then they even impose the rules about flopping, load management, and such and so forth. Because what's happened, fans are spending money to go see their favorite player, and then that player's not playing, and so that lessens them and saying, okay, if the players don't care, if this game don't mean anything to them, why should I care? So that's the image that the NBA has, right? And so we look at what's coming up. Like I think their TV deal is coming up, and they're going to want a lot of money. But from the sports network, I'm not going to really get into them, but they're paying a lot of money, but they're not getting the return on the money that they want, right? So do they gamble and say, okay, we'll pay the money hoping things change, or do we cut and go somewhere else, right? The other thing as well too, the NBA has not done as good a job of marketing their younger stars or foreign stars. I know we have a lot of those, but they focused on two of their cash cows, um, and those players are getting up in age, and so you want to create compelling stories so people care about the game between Sacramento and Portland because they have young talent or young players or new coach or new type of things, and they haven't really done a good job with that. So, Adam Silver, you can come find me. I can help you with that as well too. So that's important from a business standpoint. In that, are you reaching the customers that you want to reach? Are you resonating with them? Are you like getting the engagement you want so they continue to buy your product or service? So that's another thing that image consultants like myself do. We work with them in those particular spaces. So does the MBA have an image problem? Yes. Let's see how some of the action they're taking now will affect and improve that. We've had some challenging games like um, Victor Yama. He's getting a lot of eyes on him in small market San Antonio, but he actually in his debut outdid Golden State as well as LA. But let's see if that trend continues. And so it's not just the NBA; it's just how it's reported in the storylines and all those types of things. So create some interesting storylines, get the players more engaged. I mean, they're making a lot of money, so that can be a blessing and a cursing because hard times make strong men, good times make weak men. So these are the good times, making more money than ever, but people are saying they don't think the players care, so they're starting to not care, and you can't have that with your customers. All right. So yeah, that's that right there. I don't know if we have time for one more question because we're coming up on the top of the hour. I always thank everyone for tuning in. We're here to make sure we put you in position to win. And oh man, go ahead. However you want to support the channel, we definitely appreciate that. The likes, the subscribes, every little bit counts because we definitely want to move the needle. And this is an interesting question right here. All right. So what's the difference between Ashanti and Keke Palmer when they both presented themselves in the same manner? All right. So there's two things. All right. For those who may or may not know, Ashanti and Keke Palmer, they're both singers slash entertainers. Keke, she was dating a gentleman, can't remember, think of his name, but she was a recent mom. And so, again, sometimes these celebrities, they dress provocatively, right? So she was out dressed provocatively and grinding on Usher. And her man had a problem with it. He was saying, okay, she shouldn't dress like that as a mom, a woman in a relationship. That was his perspective. Then, Ashanti and Nelly, they're back together. So they were together, and she's dressed in some revealing things. So two major differences. One, Ashanti was with her man, or the man she's claiming. All right, and they were together. He had no issues with her, no qualms about it, and he was there to provide his masculine energy. He was there to provide his support. He was just there with her, and he didn't have an issue with that. Now I will say this right here: some men, they have no issue with their woman dressing in certain manners if they're there to be with her, right? Now, one difference between Ashanti and Nelly and regular people is people not gonna mess with them because chances are when they go out and go somewhere, they're gonna have security. So they don't have to worry about somebody stupid running up on Ashanti and Nelly got to intervene. That's highly unlikely they probably go somewhere with that. Whereas regular people, some people may disrespect the woman or person, and now you got to intervene. So a lot of guys are against that because they don't want those types of problems. Now with Kiki, her man was at home, and then she was grinding and dancing on another man. Her man didn't like it. So the issue is, I don't really too much get involved in certain things like that. One person had an issue in their relationship, the other didn't. All right. So that's the difference between those two right here. If Kiki Palmer man was on board with it, then that would be just between them. But he didn't, and that was an issue and challenge with them as well too. So that is my perspective on what was going on and what the major difference is. Now, some people may want to say, well, they was both half naked. Okay, if that's your argument, fine. I'll let you have that. But if you're talking about the difference on one got something and one didn't, it just simply one was with her man, one wasn't, and one man had a problem with it and one didn't. So that's that. All right. So I don't know if we have any more questions because we may call it. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We definitely appreciate that. Office hours in effect. Again, I am Eric Hall, your success concierge, and you can find me on Instagram. You can find me here, comment section or whatnot. Definitely want to make sure that if you have questions, you have conversations or things that you want to do, then reach out to me because I'm here to put yourself in position to achieve your desired outcomes. As an image consultant, that's what I do. And I like giving my perspective on what I see happening in the news, what I see happening with certain individuals, those type of things right there. So if we have no more questions, salute to everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I am Eric Hall, your success concierge, providing you the vision, tools, and opportunity for your desired success.